Well, we're welcome today on the Scratching the Surface podcast. Today we've got a special co-host,
Hi, my name's Nina.
and we have our special guest, who's Thirza Amina Asanga-Rae.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
But yeah, it's good to have you in it. It's been a while. We're trying to get you on the show, but obviously things have happened and this and that. You know, you're a busy woman, many hats. But yeah, where can we start now? Like obviously I know you, we know each other from school, and it's all too good. So I don't need to talk on this. But like how was it? Like, should we talk about like you growing up? How was it like growing up? We're younger when you was younger in Rusholme.
Um, I think there was a bit of a carefreeness in the 80s and 90s. Not trying to give away my age. But we played out a lot. We played, um, you
You
know,
have to have your imagination.
yeah, you used your imagination a lot. It was the era of mountain bikes, so you'd identify which friends were where by where their mountain bikes were hurdled, be outside a certain person's house or a play area. But growing up in the 90s was really exciting for me and diverse, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
some
Obviously you're a
challenges.
bit, you're a bit young.
I was born in the 90s, beginning of the 90s. So I've grown up with a little bit of both. So it started like that, but then it's progressed into like everyone in the room on the games and not really playing out. And I've seen how it changed drastically because high school is where, for me, like the phones came out, the technology came in, and they call it social media, but it's pretty antisocial. I've seen the reverse actually happen. So yeah, interesting to hear that.
We had a lot more youth clubs at the time. Therefore, you'd identify people by youth club. Just to name a few, there was Carmel Road, there was Trinity, there was Hideaway, the Amani Centre now. But there was a host of youth clubs that we could go to and do things. Slowly, those eroded to the point that we're living in an era now where there isn't those spaces for this generation. And
Why do you think that is? Just sorry, but yeah, but why do you think the youth clubs have disappeared?
I think the line is funding. But like most things, a change in government and we're going into politics will change a lot of things. So yeah, a lot of the time it's pulled because of the funding or the building. Again, how the people acquired the building is limited, so there's not a resource to deliver what those organizations would put on. But yeah, a lot of politics sometimes goes into it. All the Shore Start nurseries, for example,
Yeah, you just stop.
they just went change of government. So it all links to, I'm sure, some of the things that you're gonna ask and we're gonna discuss.
So what about like even just like even remember like do you remember like I don't remember if, like do you remember like Soundgardens and all that Leaky Fresh when they used to play things and like it was like in the evening where the kids were going to, you know what I mean? It didn't last long, but those things were good though.
It was warm. It was welcoming. And like I said, I think my opening line, it was carefree. Like, I think we felt that we could go into those spaces safely. I don't think there's that element of safety now. I have three boys. My oldest is a girl. She's 22, so I've got that ranging right to my youngest, who's 7. So I'm very wary about where my boys go, what they do, who they're engaging and interacting with. So yeah, there is the difference to my.
Obviously it's growing up, you know that obviously with growing up in Manchester and like Moss Sides, especially like a lot of obviously growing up you know me, obviously I got involved in gangs and a few other people that um you know you knew other people. How did it feel for you? Like when did you get a realization? Because obviously we went through schools. Some people were getting in trouble, some were getting suspended, expelled, and then it kind of just like suddenly like certain people that you knew that ended up being in gangs or were in jail, and straight from being expelled straight to the what is it called? It's called a thing like straight from jail, like expelled and then straight into the jail.
I call it the school to prison
Yeah,
pipeline.
that's it. That's the word.
And we've got a charity established in that vein. It's called Great. And I think we identified that that was a common pattern and thread that was happening for young boys predominantly. Girls were getting caught up into certain things as well. So for me, it was challenging because I grew up very aware of street life, but I think because of my orientation and background, I could choose street life. So I got exposed to gangs. They were like school friends, so it was quite weird to see them and associate them as gang members. but that's what they were. And a lot of it stemmed from after school or being expelled, what opportunities did they have? And especially in Moss Side, it was like a complete zero. Moss Side got labelled as Gunchester on the sort of national scale. For people who lived outside Manchester, there's other documentaries if you look out there that actually shows how people or young boys were operating and living. And it's weird because it's all territory based, and sometimes rival gang members will live or operate right next to each other. So it was just weird. Example of sort of Quinny Crescent and the two varying gangs over that side. But I think for me, it was just, I was self-aware. It made me really aware of my surroundings and who was who. My dad was a strict Nigerian father.
Yeah, you couldn't mess.
So I couldn't afford to mess up. And, you know, he made a pertinent thing that made sure we went back to Nigeria every year without fail and to the village. So in terms of me being grounded in my roots and who I was, my identity and what I was about, never was far away. So no matter whenever I left and came back to the UK, I just knew not to get involved. It's not an option. And I just, and I still equally respected people that I went to school with because I saw them as human beings. I understood that they had to make tough decisions after being expelled or kicked out of school. So yeah, it was hurtful sometimes because not only were people choosing criminal lifestyles, but we lost a lot of people. I mean, like, I'll give you Benji, for example, and that was quite young. Benji I used to play with in Rec Park, just, near here.
Lots of it, innit?
Yeah, 100%. And, lives were taken so young, so quick, so swift, and a lot unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Like, absolute trivial stuff. And I'm still hearing there's a pattern of that still happening in today's society. So something.
Life's cheap, innit? What do you feel?
I was sort of on the other end where my home life was where I was exposed to the gang life because I was brought up in Longsight, but I went to school in Wally Range, but it was a private school. So it was two different worlds. I was like, right, I know this world, but then when I'm at home and I'm on once I got to 15, I quit gymnastics. So all of a sudden I'm kind of out on the road a little bit. My mum didn't like people coming to my house. So I was outside in the park, Crowcroft Park, and getting people to go in the shop and get drink. And it all started really with alcohol. And then I'm out on the street kind of thing. And then when I got my car at 17, everybody wanted a lift. So I was kind of the driver, which incriminated me to a degree where I didn't realise that I've got this girl in the car who's seen a guy from that gang, and then I'm under some kind of threat. I'm getting strangled on the street. I'm getting my windows put through.
What you mean? Is this what you're about?
Yes, for real, this stuff was happening. And I remember one time I'd gone out and don't know if you remember a club called Relish. It was under the AMC cinema in Deansgate, but some guy bumped into me and I didn't realise who he was. I'm very naive and oblivious. I don't really think, oh, this guy's a gang member. I don't know who he was, but he was a hot guy. Sure. And it helped me put my stuff together, but then realised I didn't have my phone. So what that guy had actually done, those times, didn't really have passwords and all that, did you? So we'd gone through my phone, got all the numbers from the guys from my area, and he was contacting them saying, I'm looking for you, but he's on my phone saying that I'm with him and I've laid with him that night. Ooh. Which, if I had have done, it's like, well, whose business would that have been, really? But that's the matter of it. I hadn't and I wasn't. I'd lost my phone. But I've gone out onto the estate to get my car, which had parked in Hardwick, and I'm getting these guys to start rushing me. Is that you? Yeah, we're so-and-so. Is that you with my man? And I'm like, here we go again. Like, I'm some property because I live in this postcode. Anyway, thankfully, before I was about to get mashed up, they got a phone call from my phone saying I'm here and I'm doing XYZ right now, but I'm stood in front of them. So luckily that kind of dissolved itself, but who knew what would have happened if that phone call didn't come through. So it's like, I just felt like this little pawn at some times, and then like you said, it was losing people. People were getting there was a lot of that, and I don't think it's so sad that they couldn't bring the mentality higher to understand that we were a target and we were actually being set against each other. And as I've got older, I've gone into sort of archival work and reading oral history projects in Central Library. There is so much in those stories from people in the 80s and 90s talking about how areas were being disrupted, homes were being knocked down, churches, schools were being knocked down, so communities were being destroyed. That little essence of that village you talked about in Nigeria couldn't exist here because they kept bulldozing everything, talking about regeneration. Just what it was just dispersing and keeping the diaspora.
When we think of talking like obviously we know that as men, like what I don't think what as men, like, or men or boys, what we went through, like being in the gangs, but I don't think a lot of emphasis, or that's a word being put on what the girls went through. Like you say, just little things that you didn't have a clue about, and you could have gotten so much things, you know what I mean? Like how was it for the girls that like if you could be like an advocate for the women that went through all the troubles and the things and the mishaps with the guys in the gangs, or girls that might have fell for ones, or ones got shot, and you know, they might have been seeing the guy, and or nobody knew that you might have been seeing the guy. Do you get what I mean?
Super over also in Nicaragua. Not for real.
Well, it sounds like we could dig deep into that, but it sounds like that is an opportunity for another documentary, to be fair. And I'm happy.
I'm trying to do that.
I'm happy to play a part in that. But if you want me to just touch on it, because I do have friends currently who have had children. Children are big now, grown, but 2 ex-gang members, still alive or late. And just speaking to them on a sister level, engaging with them, some of them feel like their lives had been, ripped away from them, the opportunities that they could have had, the potential to live a certain life in a certain way, but through choice or sometimes duress. Like I know certain friends who had to stay in relationships for fear, and had to just keep up with whatever was demanded and asked of them, be it hold things, be it move things around, be it, you hear stories of,
Nightmare stuff.
putting things in the pushchairs while they're walking somewhere, just all of those things that would shred any woman and the dignity of what you present.
I want to touch up, we don't want to stay too long on that, but like obviously like a lot of a lot of girls that I spoke to have said to me they wish that their boyfriends or wherever it is who's going through trauma, who's been through trauma, would go get help. Do you know what I mean? It'd be so much better for the relationship, or it's caused problems in the relationship. Now, do you believe in that as well? Do you hear that as well? That a lot? Do you?
100%.
Yeah.
I think, and it goes to say with whatever trauma that, because we were all children first before we became young adults and got involved in whatever gangs. So there's some childhood traumas that never got unpicked and dealt with. Now, negate that, minus that, even if you didn't go through a traumatic household and mum and dad were exemplary and you were raised well and fed well and had it all, because there are some people that had it good just for whatever choice, wanted to be part of gangs and affiliated to bad life. But once you get into that dark place in gangs and some of the requirements that's put on you as to, I don't know if it's to affiliate yourself or whatever it is, you might have to do something to prove initiation, prove yourself worthy and so forth. That triggers a trauma that some guys never get over, never get help with. So therapy, 100%. Mental health is real. It's real in the Black community. And I'd wish and I applaud any brother, any man to ask for help. Right? I know there's ego and I know that there's sometimes pride, but put that aside and, get the needed help, because everyone's a beautiful human being in my eyes. It's just, you got to make choices.
Yeah. Right. Let's move on to what you know what you love to. So yeah. So like, tell us a bit like the Green Party.
Right. So politically, I got involved. I moved back to Manchester after seeking education in London and career and this, that, the other, and I decided what better place to come back to than home. So when I moved back to Manchester in 2017, I wanted to understand the playing field, like what's happened, what's not, who's where, who's still the same. And I did that kind of civic exercise while getting involved with my then party, which was Labour. I was part of Labour. party, and that's more because of my activism. I was with the trade union, so I'm always fighting for rights. And doing lots of campaigns and all of that, making noise and radical if we need to. And I realized like certain things hadn't changed in Moss Side. Certain things, and people were in the same. It was just weird, in the same mindset. Nothing about elevating, nothing about raising the bar in the community and like having what we deserve. And going to London, you see the bigger, diverse pictures in the different boroughs.
You think so? Yeah, like
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So I wanted to inject some of that back. So I got involved in my local branch, attending meetings and so forth, and did pretty well in Labour. I sat on panel. And what that means is that you prove yourself worthy to become a councillor. So you've jumped whatever hoops, you've proved yourself, and you sit in this pool. And that's their structure. And then when an opportunity comes up, you might get played up against another Labour member who's in panel as well. It's so funny because I was up against our current councillor in Moss Side, and she's another black sister. So when she got elected, I was more than happy, because in my view, it's like, yes. And I think in Manchester, there was not that many or zero black councillors. Marcia Hutchinson did a bit of a research around that and identified, where are we? Where's our representation? And that goes in many industries. Like you will not find CEOs, directors and so forth in many establishments. Don't know if COVID pulled a bit of that out and George Floyd, but it's the truth. Anyway, so yeah, I got involved with Labour, just observing Labour. Corbyn didn't get in, so that broke my heart. And then the Ford report, which is a report that broke out about all the racism, all the nasty things that go on behind the scenes that members don't really see. And I was dumbfounded. I was absolutely shocked.
With Labour?
With Labour, yeah.
So then we'll go on to this. So is that why you left Labour?
Well, yes. That is the pertinent reason, because you can't do a report, find facts, see that this is the issue with recommendations. So here you are with solutions like, let's fix this and do nothing and sit on it. And I was subjected to some. I have even former councillors who were subjected to heavy racism with the party. So yeah, just knowing that they went through that trauma, I wasn't about to tap in for some of that. So I stepped away from politics and just a breather. And I was approached to join the Green Party. And I just thought, no, not another political party. And I go with the same rhetoric I've heard people in my community say, oh, they're all the same. And a reason not to engage. I was given all those excuses. And then it was over further conversations that someone said, no, just give it a try. And I have this motto, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So I ventured. I joined the Green Party in October of 2022. By February 2023, I was their candidate for Moss Side. And just to put it in perspective, like Green Party wasn't really on the map. I think the last elections, they scored 3%. So when I ran in 2023, a short campaign, so February to May, I had to run a campaign to put us on the map. When the elections came, I got 23% share of the vote. Wait, hold on, let me just make sure that's correct. So no, I tripled the percent the first time because I've ran a few times. So we were 3% and I think we've come up with 7%. So I tripled the percent share, it put us on the map and everyone's like, okay, don't give up. So I ran again in 2024. This time we took a bigger chunk, and it was quite weird because we had an independent, we had what's his name, George Calloway's party involved.
Gavin would be man. Gavin is not here, man.
Well,
this politics.
Do you know what? I'll talk politics with him all times outside of the space because I love to have a debate.
What do you like politics, or are you not a politics person? Or
I feel like my views are quite political without understanding, because I think the school I went to, I felt politics was kind of something I could never access. I felt like it was well gate kept. So I just thought, well, I'm not going to try and do that, because at the time I didn't know that deep down I was a bit of an activist. I had these strong views. It's taken me to really pull out of sort of where I was, which was quite corporate work. I've always been in very corporate settings. So only since I've managed to like embrace my creative side that I've really felt the real feelings that I feel deep down. The research I've been doing, I'm like, wow, if you give yourself a minute to see, then you feel something, but people don't get the chance to feel because they don't have the information to create the feeling. So for me, I think having something where community politics were a thing, maybe educating people and sort of creating spaces where we can understand them, make friends with it, rather than feeling like, oh, that's over there. There's no need of voting, that you can't have part of that, you can't have a say. I think that's problematic, but I'm part of the problem still.
Yeah.
On that sense, though, can you like explain to people how important it is politics, especially in our community?
100%.
Like we hold the
100%.
power.
110%. So it's through my community work, and I invited you a number of times. I called the head of Crown Prosecution Northwest to my side. I invited him. I did call him. And I said, look, we know that joint enterprise is disproportionate to our people. We know stop and search is disproportionate to our people. But what we need to do is have the conversation. And I think from the Crown Prosecution's perspective, they thought because they were engaging with leaders in the Asian community that they ticked the BM. I hate this term, by the way. They were ticking the BME box. And he said no.
His BME means
Black and ethnic minorities. We're not minorities, by the way. We're global majorities. Anybody asks you, you're a global majority. But anyway, that's me. And if you are black, you're black with a capital B, and there is a difference. So for me, it was pertinent that we have these conversations with the head of Crown Prosecution to educate them about the black community and our cultures. So I invited him to the Windrush, had the conversation around, things that are affecting our community by way of joint enterprise. We even did a leaflet together, do's and don'ts. Because my aim was like, let me educate my people on the different political powers, the different justice powers. So police have different powers, courts have different powers, CPS have different, and the politics in between them is they will not step on the other person's toes. You have to address each stream accordingly. But it was good to have the conversation and knowledge so I know how to go about challenging the disparities.
Yeah.
So through those conversations, I realized that if you don't register to vote, you don't go into the pool when you're called for jury.
Yeah.
So therefore, when you see jury or white, you don't have your black person representing because you're failing to register to vote, to form part of the democratic system. So when we've got all white jurors and we're getting guilty because of their own bias and racism, we only have ourselves to blame, a bit like what you said. So I knew a lot more needed to be done in the black community around political education and the reason why you need to vote, how you can affect the legal justice through that, but also the political system in that, who you vote for will fight for you, be it locally or nationally. And a lot of my line in order to get people to trust and have confidence in me was, in this instance, because some people will vote for Labour because the great-great-great-grandfather did, like no attachment to what the current councillors do for you, it's just a family tradition. So I was like, well, give me a try. But in some instances, it was about the person, not the party. So you are loyal to Labour, but look at me. And you know my record, you've seen it, we've engaged, people know me. And I think that's where I got a lot of the vote share swing from Labour to vote for me, because they saw I was passionate, it was about community. And yeah, that shook their loyalty in a sense. But it is important that people understand how and why it's important to exercise their democratic right. I think a lot of the reason, if I might just add there, is we as a community want to stay off grid, off radar. Don't know what we're hiding from. Don't know what we think, is lurking out there. It's true. Even like in situations where I want people to speak, I don't always want to be the voice in the room. And a lot of people know they'll push you in front, like you tap dance, you go and push you on stage. Do you know what I mean? And for me, it's like, no, you have a voice. Your voice should be heard. And what you say to me, if you can confidently say it to me, say it out there. And I want to encourage as many people to be that confident and just powerful. You're at power. Anyway, so.
No, you good. It's good. But like how do you like you've got a lot of hats in it. How do you juggle all these different hats and being a mother, and also being like, because obviously you're part of the, I know you're a part of the black community, but like the African community, I've seen you do things with
100%.
like on the like doing things with the other sisters and that. So how do you juggle all these hats and that and still be a mom and still have time for yourself? Do you have time for yourself?
the comical
There's
answer.
not enough time. There's not enough. They need to make more hours.
Was they so? That's very
You
empathetic
need
of
to make.
you.
So, but I'm not gonna. I've known. I've known.
You promises are fine.
Yeah, like you just do every meet. You've got something new going on in it. Do you know what I mean? If you're not there, you might. You 1 minute you're in Africa, next minute you're back here in London, traveling on the train, or coming back on the same ride. Then I see you. I see you. What doing a lot, man. But yeah, you talking.
Come on board, like, and help me recruit our people to do some of the things you see me doing. Thank you.
Yeah, how do you juggle all these things?
So the comical answer is the vibranium in me.
What's that? Thinking what you.
So that's the comical answer, because when you when you see warriors and you know what war is, and I come from Africa and I know how hard it is. I remember going and sorry to go back into sort of childhood, that we didn't have a light switch. It's a lantern. I used to carry water on my head, or fetch from the well, come back to boil, to bath. We'll bath in a zinc hut. So again, at the time I thought, Lord God, that is proper putting it out there. But he was teaching me fundamentally survival and how to be humbled and how to appreciate, because when I come back to the UK, you got a toilet to flush, not a hole in the floor. You got running tap, not having to fetch from the well. So all these innate, I was pounding pepper, grinding it on a stone to cook.
Grinding it down.
Yeah, there's 2 big slabs of stone, and then I don't know how they shape it, but there's, and you grind the pepper on the stone and over scoop it. So it was all fun as well. You would chase chickens, something that, I wouldn't do on Fleeson Street, Yeah? Wouldn't do it on the streets, on the cobble streets of Rusholme.
But like even then, but like even just like going back, like even like I know the people that say like, "Yo, I'm gonna send you back home to Africa," innit? Now that's just was that the scary thing, like just going back to like normal, just like
Basic, absolute basics. For some people, of course, it'll be a reality shock.
I'm not my mom said that I'm African, but I can't go no jungle and all that, like no.
Yeah, but a lot of parents did it.
Like spiders and all that stuff, man. Like
spiders are everywhere.
You can't get me. I've never.
Mosquitoes might be the
jungle. What's it called? Get me out the
celebrity. Get me out.
No celebrity, but it's kept me out of the jungle. But yeah, man, like nah.
But do you know what? That is the fundamental
hard people got put back like you say, yo, you put my man's going up, you put the bottle of spiders in there. Man, I got lizards going around. I'm like, what lizard? Spiders and lies in the toilets. I said, nah, forget that, man.
You probably needed it.
I could need, but I'd say I don't know, my other that would left me in a different kind of trauma.
You still young, bro, maybe.
I don't know, maybe, but I just haven't got a thing for like. If I walk into a spider's web, man,
it's weird you say that. It's weird you say that, because you'll sit here and talk about I had a gun, I had a gang pass. But then the spider web over there dealt with me.
Yeah, but I could never. I'll tell you the truth, like for partners that to get rid of the spider web, and it's like, nah, just let it. Like, don't tell me to be sitting in a house and just let that spider go. Don't tell me that. I'll just let it go. It's mad. I'm coming out of the house.
Your enemies only needed a spider.
Yeah, man.
First,
well, yeah, but like, anyways, yeah, like all the hats and all that. So like even like was like I see as another strong sister, and I know that the African, like obviously my mom's African and that, so like I don't know how do you like, just putting everything together and looking after your boys and giving them the right guidance and everything. Like,
I think just confidence in God and who He created in me. But ultimately my lived experience, my exposure, certain things about not wanting them to see and go through the things I did and those of my friends. So I think that's what gives me power. I'm naturally a resilient person.
yeah.
I will go hard until it's time to go home. But I think for me, I've managed my diary best way possible in terms of all the hats I wear. Yes, I'm part of the Nigerian community, both in London, and Vic's in the Nigeria house here at Appleby House. My dad used to take me there when I was younger.
Where's that? Is that the one in Rusholme?
Platfields, Platfields, opposite Batalai.
We've realised I never really, but then I've seen it. But they got a special thing to get in there.
Not necessarily you want to join, you want to be a member. Anyway, but these doors are open, these opportunities open, and I'm encouraging all ages, all demographics to come and see what we do. Like, be nosy. We get invitations all the time to come and see what's happening here in this building. So, open door policy people, I'm there because they've got nothing to hide.
Just off the thing, we talk about like things in it. Obviously, we know we've got black people and black people, but then we know there's this little bit of a stay. I think it's got a lot more better than how it used to be. Like the stigma between Africans and Jamaicans and
Oh yeah, 100%.
I see a lot more people now. A lot more Jamaican people marrying, like the kids marrying or having kids with African things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like in that sense, I see it, and I see it as good, like a connection again. Do you know what I mean? Like it's good. We get what I mean.
Healthy.
But we still got to come along or come on more. We still got a long way to go. Long way to go.
I had one more question. Sorry. I feel like as a quite a westernized black person, we all have this like hope of the motherland and that there's this green, beautiful paradise place overseas. Now, my question is to you, having experienced both worlds, what would make you choose to like settle here, and what do you find the value over here?
At this junction, okay, two-pronged answer. At this junction, I have no intention of settling here. I will retire back home in Africa. But while I'm here, and they've had a lot of me. Look, I'm injecting a lot into Britain. I'm not negating I had an education here. There was more safeties here, if we're going to do the comparison, stabilities and structures. But we know why Nigeria, Africa has been the way it is because of the colonial, and they're still trying to rip us. They're still trying to take.
But I heard the thing where, what was it? Sorry, I had a thing where one of the guys said that they're still thinking that we need them.
Yeah,
Like,
same with Americans.
Yeah,
They thought the Indians needed them.
we need them. We don't need them. We don't. I heard Africa. We don't need them.
100%. You've got to only look at the minerals, the wealth of the land of that continent. Like, it's a powerhouse. And what's really gingering me now, what's really exciting me and buzzing, is the 3 African countries that have come together. If we could all do that and come together, we're a force. And I think a lot of people would not want that.
Yeah.
Any sense of power, any sense of independency, any sense of true freedom. A lot of other countries wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm all about identity. I'm all about joining. I remember getting told by a fellow Caribbean sister, look African. And I grappled. I says, what do Africans look like? And I think in their head, and many of the westernized heads, they shaped Africa as this poor. They show the water aid videos of malnutrition and the baby with the pot. There's a lot of negative planets
coming off the bay.
Yeah. So that imagery was pumped, especially growing up. And I kept thinking, that's not what it's like. I see things that they're putting out there. What part? Let me, I was intrigued. Where did you go? Go. We grew up well. My dad only took me to the village. Again, I didn't understand it when I was young, but now I do. It's for the teaching. I can survive. It put me in the jungle and I survive. That's fundamental. Put some of these children and you with your spiders.
That's the least of my worries is there's jungle in it. But what are some of the pressing issues that are in Moss Side right now that need addressing?
Oh, there's quite a few.
From an environmental and a social issue.
Okay, I'll talk social because I'm heavily involved in housing. I'm a social housing commissioner as well.
How many is that? About 50 now? You got about 50 different things.
No, but it needs to be done. And I was approached. I don't go looking for hats, to be fair. So desperately need social housing. That's a national issue. But if you're speaking about Moss Side, I know that, and we do house visits. The current stock of the housing is poor, riddled with damp and mold, disrepair.
Yeah.
You name it. Some of the conditions that we're living in, I would say it's squalor. We're not, and that ricochets to health. That there's there's a spiraling issue.
I don't know how you see it, but like have you been around Rusholme? What I've noticed, especially rough, it's like the dumping ground now. Like where my grand is, just all the stuff just gets dumped out. But what I do see now is like I see a lot of those families that come from like foreign people that have come into the brand. I see a lot of houses well converted, like the bedroom, the living room.
That's HMOs and Airbnbs.
No, but I mean, like, you've got people living in a house. You've got the living room, the bedroom. They might have the living room, but you'll have a bed, like the front room, like you've got a front room. That's a bedroom. Then you've got people upstairs.
That's what HMO is, homes of multiple occupants.
But what he's saying is, because I've done and I've seen the HMOs that are done, each person has their own room. But he's talking, you've got 2 up, 2 down terrace, and you've got family who've got beds all over the living room, for example, and the house isn't done to HMO regulations.
I think that is sheer overcrowding. Like, if it's not different families and it's one family.
Well, and I think it's also, I think it's to do with, I don't think it's to do with just like, it's to do with different people have different cultural things, and I think like a lot of the foreign people, like they like to have the family with them, they like to have the grandparents, the parents with them, so it's a thing of they want everyone in that house, they want them, but it's another thing of overcrowding. But like I'll go past you, you'll see people in the living room, beds that I'd never see, like beds in the living room. Like, and I'm like, yo, when it's like the hiding, there's the front rooms of the, you know what I mean? My grandparents have got where my granddad used to just play his music on a Sunday, and these all were, you know what I mean?
One of those,
Them,
some of those days where your living room is your living room. Now the way families are operating is anywhere that's a room becomes a room, so that my child or me and my partner or our family, because it might be external, like, you know, like you said, grandparents or whatever, living together to accommodate them. And I think a lot of why we're doing that is people want to stay in their community. The way the housing system's working now, and when people get evicted or you know, need to move, the council will move you far afield, and that's away from your normal community support network, or, you know, where you can buy your foods and what you're used to somewhere like Blakely, and you're away from what you know. Although you might have a roof and be accommodated, you're on your own, on your top. So housing, gentrification. I think for me, housing is a strong sector for me. So not only do I help people around knowing their rights with housing every second Monday of the month, although we've scaled it down. So we just had one last night. We're going to have one in May. Simply because of the sheer work that I'm doing, and there's not enough. So anybody interested in doing housing and learning more about housing, well, what happened?
Because I'm trying to get a place. I've been waiting. But obviously, I come out of jail to put me on some mad thing. Serious offenders panel. I'll be waiting years to get a place.
I get that, and that's another issue. So a lot of people that have been incarcerated that come out, what pathway do you guys really have to secure you into society so that you do have a roof over your head? You're not sofa surfing, and it's a vicious cycle. You start getting into the wrong crowd, and then you find yourself back in Her Majesty's business. So these are the things that we need to tackle as a people. And I couldn't do it all, but I know that there's a space for that kind of campaigning or work to make sure we have something solid, that when people come out of you know, our heritage, we hold them, we got them, and we're helping them so that they don't end up back there again. And what they come with is used in the community. Everyone has a skill, everyone has a talent, everyone can contribute. You are not lesser. Your past is your past. Like, there's this analogy, and I'll put it out there. In order for me to navigate and work with people, hate the sin, not the sinner. Hate the crime, not the criminal. So I can't see someone that's been a former criminal and then carry that judgment on him or her and work with them. I let it go. I let what you did go, your circumstances around it, but I want to work with you.
But at some point, you have to show yourself that you are willing to change, that you have changed. You have to
100%. You've got to prove yourself.
Make it that little bit more because of what you've done. But yeah, if you really genuinely want you, then yeah,
you've got to prove yourself. If any like my complexion means I've got to go harder than someone that wasn't, or someone that was Caucasian, and that's my reality. I've always had to punch higher to get to where I have, to do my degrees, to whatever it is.
And like you say, it's sort of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, isn't it? Yeah, those basic needs are not being met. It's very likely that people are going to end up back where they're coming from. And also, I was diagnosed with ADHD at 32, and I know that a high percentage of people who are incarcerated also have ADHD. That's not taken into consideration in the process of you know.
I can link with that.
Get
I
some-
did my degree and started working with the trade union before I found out I was dyslexic. I kept leaving E's off something, and they picked it. So you know, and now I'm a champion of hidden disability and disabilities because I have a disability and my son does. But I think and these are coping mechanisms. So you don't know what's wrong. You find a coping mechanisms, power through it, and do what you got to do. And then when they tell you, it's like, oh, it makes sense. But then you're able to speak confidently to it. The Caribbeans have a stigma. Tell them you're dyslexic, you're dumb dust. And therefore, no one wants to talk about these disabilities or difficulties that they may have. When there's tools out there now, there's support, there's money, there's funding. So we need to
Wake up as like
100%.
But on that note,
What you do. I love everything that you're doing.
what a nice one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's lovely to meet you.
And you too.
All right.
Thank you.